Welcome back to Lepodcast episode 38. As always, you're here with Hoop, Saney, and the infamous ZZ Huncho. I know most people watching this right now are waiting for me to address the elephant in the room, as I am a Knicks fan. And don't worry, it's going to happen. But as of now, we're going to talk about a lighter topic. Or not as light for Mo Wagner, but he got slept by Killian Hayes last night. We're calling it Rough House in the Playhouse because it was not up to standards of what would happen in a Detroit arena. But Sandy, can you tell us more about the situation and how Mo Wagner got slept by even like a head, like it wasn't even a full punch in my opinion.
To be fair,
do you think there was some acting there?
Killian Hayes, there are reports that he's trying to impress Dana White because he is pursuing a career outside of the NBA. He wants to be a UFC fighter. You can see it on the court. Mo Wagner also wants to be a fighter, but not in the UFC. He wants to be in the WWE with that acting and that diving. So, kudos to both sides and both guys. I mean, they put on a show. The funniest part about that fight was the announcer basically begging everybody to stay in their seats. I don't know what malice...
Everybody stay in your seats.
I don't know what malice in the palace
move.
occurs with Killian Hayes leading the charge. No disrespect to Killian Hayes. And it was... I agree. It was more of a push than a punch. Like, it looked like he just shoved his head. He didn't punch his head. And Mo being the
it felt like he said take that while he was doing it. It wasn't like
a square up. It was more like a knuckle sandwich. You know what I mean? Like he was giving him the old Popeye spinach. There was smoke coming out of his ears.
Wait,
you know what I mean?
Son.
No, it was. I mean, to be honest, the funniest part about that is there was probably maybe 10,000 people watching that game live because it was a Pistons Magic game. So a very, very, very. But here's the thing: during that game, there was probably a very, very, very small percentage of the world that actually watched that live because, again, it's a Pistons Magic game. So if you watch that live, you witness history. I mean. We're going to tell our kids about this Killian Hayes fight. Am I right or am I right? But if we want to move on.
Well, I want to hear, Z, I'm assuming you saw the clip. I know you're a wrestling fan because you've gotten on me for not knowing what Slam versus
SmackDown
Raw
versus
is,
Raw. Get it right, bro. Jesus.
Nah, Hoop just says it's sus, bro. Hoop just says it's sus.
Have you not heard the term "layeth the smacketh down"? Have you never heard that catchphrase? That came from The Rock. I know you know who The Rock is. You need to know where he got his start. SmackDown, man. Come on now. Anyway, all I'm gonna say is I did see the clip, and I didn't think it was a punch either. I remember Basketball Forever had posted it, and it said Killian Hayes punches in all caps Mo. And I'm like, and I look at the comment section, people are like, is that really a punch? I'm like, yeah, right. He literally was just like, get off me, man. Leave me alone. It wasn't anything close to Malice at the Palace where you have literally, you have Ron Artest about to uppercut a fan, swinging on actual people. And I understand the announcer because, I mean, if I was a Detroit play-by-play commentator and if there was even a technical foul, I would immediately look for the nearest exit, because my life is on the line, just like these fans' lives are on the line, just like these players' lives are on the line. But I mean, it was one of those things where it's this is the NBA, this is our generation of a fight. Anytime that somebody gets pushed, it's always just everybody, hey, let him go. But nobody's gonna fight. So it's like Killian Hayes. I'm kind of mad that nothing else progressed after that. Because if that was me and you hit me in the back of the head, I'm not gonna fake sleep. I'm smart on Mo's account because it's he wants to get him suspended. Me, it's bro, no, he shoved you in the back of the head for a purpose. I don't know if it was to knock him out, but it was definitely to make a statement, and it definitely spooked the commentator. So.
Yeah, I was about to say, this is the most 2022 fight we've had.
Yeah,
I'm just surprised that Isaiah Stewart sat there calm.
To all the Lepodcast,
he sat there calm.
To all the Lepodcast listeners, the moral of what Z said is kindness and violence is never the answer.
Exactly. He should have hugged it out.
Let's pretend that Z
we're all
didn't say
we want him to do more. It's
no. And kindness and happiness is the answer. But if we
right. Yeah, I
You
would
give them
give
a
them a
brotherly
very,
hug
very
afterwards, right?
crisp,
Yeah.
crisp slap to the back of the head.
like a good old like the dap up where it's like
Like the type,
like there's
yeah,
a like the
yeah, you need that. Yeah, you need that crisp. The type
Yeah.
of dap that you would give to your friend in a high school hallway. That is what we
Bro,
need
here's
right
the
there.
thing: people don't understand that all Killian Hayes was trying to do was high five Mo Wagner's head. I don't see the issue with it.
He got a good high
No,
five.
but
Good
let's
lord.
start talking serious basketball,
Mo
man.
Wagner
Enough
has
with this
become
malice in the palace.
Mo Wagner has
Can we
become a
talk about
serious
Grayson
instigator,
Allen
though.
for a second? Just
Like,
a
top
side
tier
note.
in
I
the
know y'all
NBA.
saw that play last night where Grayson Allen. No,
That was
no,
not dirty. He got
no,
shoved
no,
into him.
no,
I hate Grayson Allen
no,
with.
no, bro. I
No,
don't
it was.
care. Grayson Allen is 6'4", 200 pounds. You mean to tell me that he literally, when he got pushed, he looked in the direction of DeMar DeRozan and was like, all right, let me just stick my hand. Like, he did not have to stick his hand out. I'm sorry. It wasn't anything like 2 minutes. It wasn't anything menacing.
Hot take. I love Grayson
I
Allen.
thought he got shoved.
Oh my God.
I love him.
Let's.
I love him. He's a dog.
Let's move on.
He's a dog, and people don't want to
Let's
admit.
move on.
People don't want to admit it. People don't want to admit he got that rough in him, bro. I'll give it to him. I give it to him.
Just move on. Just move on.
Well, it's time to address the elephant in the room. The Knicks were on the wrong end of the craziest 30-second comeback in NBA history. You could put it up there with Tracy McGrady's 11 points and whatever, how long it was, 13 points, I don't know. The Knicks, I want to preface this by just state what's been going on with the Knicks the entire season. As a fan, I have been very high on them since the offseason. A lot of people were not. And not high in terms of championship contenders, but I had hope for the Knicks. They were mediocre to start off the season. They lost to the Mavericks on December 3rd, bringing their record to 10-13. People were calling for Thibodeau's firing. The rotation was a mess at the time. We were getting smoke for not playing Cam Reddish. Oh, you're not playing Derrick Rose. There was too many players, not enough basketballs. So he wins the next game, which I believe was against the Cavaliers. And the very good team, the Cavaliers. So the firing goes aside for now. It's like, oh, if he keeps to win, he'll keep his job. I really think he was one game away from being fired, and he saved his job. He also sat Reddish, Rose, and Fournier. Now it's a 8-man, 9-man rotation. It worked great. They won 8 straight games, bringing them to 18-13. They're like 6th in the Eastern Conference. The media is finally starting to turn their heads. Like, no one could really say anything bad about them. It's a team that's not all that talented, but they're playing great basketball in a conference that's supposed to be very difficult. And it's the teams with DeMar DeRozan that are failing. It's the teams that are, that are more talented that are not doing as well, even in the West. They handled the Warriors without Steph, like they should. They handled the Bulls twice in a row. They're beating teams that they're supposed to beat, which is not a Knicks trait. If you know anything about the Knicks, they lose to bad teams and they play on their level. They lose like stupid overtime games. They play Toronto after the 8-game win streak on December 21st and barely lose to the Raptors when Pascal Siakam had 52. They played great the entire game. Julius Randle airballed a layup that slipped out of his hand that would have made it really close, but the Knicks played well. Quentin Grimes and Deuce McBride have been playing great defense the entire win streak. You saw the same thing against the Raptors. Like, okay, you drop one, let's pick it up again. Next game, Chicago, who we've already handled twice this season. The Knicks are up 3 with a minute left. Quentin Grimes misses a pair of free throws, and Jalen Brunson misses a pair of free throws. DeMar DeRozan game winner. Like, it's just stuff that happens to a normal Knicks team, which we thought we were getting out of with the addition of Brunson. They missed 9 free throws total that game. Next game is Christmas, Philadelphia. They blow an early lead. I don't know if it was like 15-20, but the Sixers handled them. But then we get to Dallas. And at this point, the Knicks lose 3 straight. They're still like 6th in the East, and they're playing good basketball. Keep in mind, each of these games, they've played well up until the final couple minutes. Brunson was out to start. He was in street clothes. R.J. Barrett got a cut on his finger from like Luka's fingernail in like the opening minutes and was out the entire game. Grimes and Quickly got a ton of minutes. Julius Randle played really well. But, oh my gosh. Miles McBride hit 2 free throws to make this game 112-103 with 33 seconds left. That's a 9-point lead. Christian Wood hits a 3. Okay, he hit a 3. Quentin Grimes inbounds the ball, turns it over. They miss a 3-pointer. But Luka Doncic grabs the rebound, not only gets the basket, but gets a foul. Hits the free throw, of course. Now it's 112-109. The Mavericks intentionally foul Miles McBride. He hits one of two, which was, honestly, I was very thankful for that one free throw because I could have swore he was going to miss both. Spencer Dinwiddie three-pointer. McBride gets put back on the line. Keep in mind, the Knicks have Emmanuel Quickley, who's like a 90% free throw shooter, and they're giving it to McBride, who has taken 10 free throws all year, for whatever reason. Very, very Knicks activities. He hits both, and the Knicks intentionally foul Luka so he can't tie the game on a three-point shot. So there's like 3-4 seconds on the clock. Luka's about to try to cross half court, throw up a heat, but they foul him before he could do that. So he's taking 2 free throws. So if he hits both, it's 115-114. He hits the free throw, and as you'd think he would throw it off the rim so the Knicks the Mavericks grab a rebound, try to win the game, right? Because you don't want to try to take more time on the clock, have to do that again. He gets it to go off the rim. It goes into Quentin Grimes' hands, and he misses it. It's in there, and it slips right out like a bar of soap. Miles McBride, I believe. It was another Knick. Same deal. It's like a wet football, and people are trying to pick it up on a fumble. Luka grabs the rebound, because no one boxed out the shooter, and throws up a bunny in midair after he already had like 50-something points, 20 rebounds, 10 assists, and puts it in. Now it's a tie game, and the Knicks lose in overtime. That was the most egregious loss I've seen in my life.
I just want to say, y'all...
After all that happened, bro.
What y'all just heard Hoop do right there, he gave you a step-by-step of all that can happen in 33 damn seconds. You can be up by, like...
Everything that could have went wrong.
Pardon my French, but you can't make this shit up when it comes to the New York Knicks. Like, genuinely, you can't. I kid you not. When Luka was at the free throw line, and they had fouled him, that was the smart thing to do. I remember when they had inbounded it, before the ball got inbounded, you could hear the announcer saying, "Do you think they're gonna foul? They're down 3." They foul Luka. Then when they foul him, he goes to the free throw line. I was in the room with my boy Rondé. Shout out Rondé. But we were in the room, and I said, if Luka makes this first free throw, how much do you want to bet he misses on purpose like he's supposed to? And by God's grace, somehow the basketball ends up back in the hands of Dallas. Now, I couldn't make this up because I just thought, okay, he misses it. Maybe it's a fumble, and it could end up back in the Mavericks' hands. I didn't expect it to end up back in the hands of the man that shot the free throw himself to the point where
it ended up in Luka's hands. Of all people.
Oh my God.
It had to be the guy that had the
historic
performance.
I just want to say this. I didn't want to bring this up to you in iMessage, in our group chat, in my regular Saney fashion, because I know, if you saw 8 notifications from iMessage that same night, you wouldn't open it. Let's be honest. It was a sensitive time for you. It was a sensitive time for all of New York. So, being the nice friend I am, I held back on what I had to say. But now I'm going to say it. Oh, I'm going to say it. Number 1, you talk about the Knicks win streak. I wanted to say this about the Knicks win streak. I find it hilarious. I don't know the exact date, but correct me if I'm wrong. This was one of the longest Knicks win streak in like the last 5 years, right? Like, this was like one of the longest win streaks they've been on in like for a while. Like, we've never seen them win 8 straight or whatever it was. Yeah. Like, I find it hilarious that even when the Knicks go on this historic run from for Knicks standards, they're still the worst team in New York because the Nets go on a 10-game winning streak. I find that hilarious. How even when the Knicks do something, Brooklyn finds a way to one-up them. It is. You know why Brooklyn became good again? Because the Knicks were showing mediocrity again. And it's always like the Brooklyn Nets have to be like, you think you run New York. I never understood this idea that the Knicks run New York. Nets don't run New York, and the Knicks don't run New York. Both of them don't run New York. Nobody doesn't run New York.
You'll understand.
No, sure. Nick, I 100% believe that New Yorkers, they make it insane. Sure. But in terms of basketball, nobody owns New York right now. New York is up for sale, if anything. And
here's my thing.
And I find it hilarious. Also with the Knicks game, how is it? Okay, 60, 21, and 10. I did not know the Mavs were playing the Knicks that day. I'll be honest. I saw that stat line because Basketball Forever posted it, and I knew it was the Knicks. I knew it was going to be a team like New York. I knew it in my heart. I was literally going to be like, they played New York. This is such a New York day.
Sadie, you're right. Because when we were talking about it in the chat yesterday, for those who don't know, we have a group chat with Basketball Forever, and Hoop was just basically talking about that point that Sadie just made of how there's never really like a team that owns New York. It's a player. And when he said that, he mentioned some names like DeMar DeRozan and Luka, and I told him I was like, don't forget KD, because God, I don't even want to look up the stat of the win loss record for KD versus the Knicks. He's still on a streak as we speak, if I'm not mistaken. But the problem that I have with New York, and this is exactly why I could not be a Knicks fan. I couldn't. The years that Rose was in New York, he's still there now. I obviously have walked away. I'm off to greener pastures, but I still wish him well individually. Back in 2017, my thing with the New York Knicks was they are such a dysfunctional organization, and they're the type of organization that reminds me of the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are heralded as America's team, and the Knicks are heralded as a team that runs New York, even though they ain't won a championship since the 70s. So it's like, what exactly are you running? What have you had in that time frame? Well, I'll tell you. You've had Linsanity. You've had Carmelo Anthony's resurgence of his own career. You've had Kristaps Porzingis. You had Big Pingus. You've had Jalen Brunson now. You had Derrick Rose twice. You had Kemba Walker for a period of time. We don't remember those days anymore though. And you had Evan Fournier. I don't understand it. Tibbs as the head coach, I hate. I used to have an extreme admiration for Tibbs back in 2015 when he was coaching the Chicago Bulls. Even though over the years I realized that I shouldn't have had this admiration because Tibbs has this constant thing that annoys me. It's his stubbornness. The fact that Tibbs will literally run his own talent into the ground if it means winning a basketball game. Derrick Rose's injury changed his career. And why was he out there with a minute and 28 seconds left in a game that they were up 10 plus points? Because of Tibbs. And then he tears his damn ACL. Jesus. So you're looking at the New York Knicks, and I look back at that Maverick game specifically. Why did Emmanuel Quickly play 50 minutes that game? Emmanuel Quickly played the most minutes out of everybody on the court in that game, including Luka Doncic. And Luka Doncic had to score 60 points, get 21 rebounds, and 10 assists. Right,
Brunson and Barrett were both out.
It's hard. I know that. That's another thing I was about to get to. The reason I'm not as like aha at New York fans because their number one guy that they just signed wasn't there, and this was supposed to be a game in which Jalen Brunson returned home and showed the Dallas fans what they missed out on, but he wasn't able to play, which sucks. The game might have been decided a little bit differently. What I can't excuse though is yes, R.J. Barrett wasn't there. Yes, Jalen Brunson wasn't there. But is Jalen Brunson going to get any of them 21 rebounds Luka got? How the hell does Luka Doncic out-rebound your two biggest guys? Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle had Randle had 18 rebounds.
Randle had like
16.
18.
Luka had 21 on his own. Like, that's just bonkers to me, and it's New York. It's New York at the end of the day. The thing about this franchise that annoys me the most, I'll say this is my last point. Once again, there is not a team that I think that you can definitively say is a rival to the New York Knicks in 2022. It is a player to team dynamic, meaning that if Luka shows up, it isn't the Dallas Mavericks versus the New York Knicks, it's Luka versus the Knicks. If KD and the Nets show up, it's KD versus the Knicks. Even if the Warriors show up, it's Steph, because Steph kind of established himself in Madison Square Garden with that 54-point performance to let everybody know, hey, I'm here, I'm in your household now, as a household name. The New York Knicks, when they don't have Jalen Brunson, are just the Knicks. That's kind of what I've realized watching that game. And they didn't have R.J. Barrett to mention that as well. This isn't a big loss though for the Knicks. I will say this: the Knicks, I still think can make the playoffs. They're a playoff contending team with Brunson there. Something's working. You guys won 8 straight. That's phenomenal. So something's there. But this is just kind of very hilarious that this happened.
Yeah, I've thought about it after the emotions went down, and like they really should not have lost, but they lost by 5 to the greatest performance of all time. Like really, really close to it, and without the 2 of your best players. But what I want to say is, so we mentioned Curry establishing himself in MSG. He also broke the 3-point record in MSG. Luka against the Knicks. Trae Young has his signature moments against the Knicks. Cam Thomas made the biggest shot of his career against the Knicks last year. The Knicks blew a 25-point lead to the Nets. DeRozan has hit multiple game winners against the Knicks. It's just, it happens against New York because I think they want to step up and play
It's the
well on the
atmosphere.
biggest
It's the
stage, and the
atmosphere.
Knicks are not ready for the biggest stage. And what's funny to me is that the front office just doesn't understand the dynamic of needing players that play well under bright lights. The biggest issue for the Knicks over this loss streak after the winning streak has been free throws, late game free throws, because they can't sink them. And you know who would sink late game free throws? Donovan Mitchell.
I don't like how you
Donovan
mentioned
Mitchell.
Curry, Luka, and not Josh Giddey establishing himself in the Madison Square Garden. All right, why don't we come correct
did.
and have respect to the jersey that is right behind my
It's a
head?
long list.
Trey
What's the
Man,
respect
Trey
on
Man,
his
It's a long
Oklahoma in
list.
general, bro. Just put
But-
Oklahoma in general establishes himself in MSG, and you know it's true.
The Knicks still have a better record
For
than
now,
the
now,
Warriors
for
and
now.
now.
so.
The Warriors
now.
have won 3 straight games.
There's a difference.
I don't know.
We're tanking.
Here's what I'll
You're
say.
not.
Here's what I'll say.
No,
Just last thing, and then we'll move on. So, once again, I think Donovan Mitchell was the one to get because he is not letting us blow that lead. He was
Right.
built for bright lights, and we just whiffed on him. And I thought,
He's
Brunson's
proven
nice.
Donovan
Brunson's
Mitchell
real
is
nice,
proving
but he's
he
just
was
not Donovan
the
Mitchell.
guy to get this offseason. He's proven he was the
Yeah.
guy.
Yes, absolutely. He's
Not
hitting
only
2
that, like just
free
the way
throws
he's
with a
been
minute
playing
left.
for
Are
the
you kidding me?
Cavs? Oh my god, he's good.
So,
Oh my
Hoop, let me
God,
ask you
Donovan
this
Mitchell's
question:
good.
Why do you think that it is that? I mean, because it feels like a yearly occurrence when the off season hits, and the market's open, and Knicks fans just come out of hibernation from missing the playoffs, and they just congregate in the comment section, and they're like, hey, there's a guy out there that damn sure needs to come to New York. Donovan Mitchell this offseason, KD in 2016. So why do you think that these stars would not want to be at Madison Square Garden?
Well, so Donovan Mitchell
Mhm.
wanted to. He's come out and said that indirectly. I think that was more incompetence from the front office. But in general, I think the Knicks are just like some weird substance on a sidewalk. A bunch of people circle around it, and they're like, "Yo, that looks really cool," but I don't want to touch it. They'll all poke it with a stick. Because like, if you are a star at
Right,
MSG,
right,
you are
yeah.
a star.
You
But
make
if
a-
if
you
you're
can make a
not, it's a
bag.
huge risk to
You make a
take.
bag.
It is
You
a
can make a
huge risk to
bag.
take.
Just imagine
Absolutely.
the
But
endorsements
you know what I
that
think
you
of the
would
Knicks
get.
as? You know what I think of the Knicks as? They're a Photoshop team. They got
What do
the
you mean by
best
that?
Photoshop team in history. They got the best group of guys who have been photoshopped in a Knicks jersey in NBA history.
Oh
But
my
not one of those
God,
guys
he's
has
right.
ever signed. Every offseason, the biggest name has a Knicks jersey on. And every time I look at it, why does this guy have a Knicks jersey on?
He right.
I
He's
can
right. You know what I'm
promise
gonna
you.
do for you, Hoop? I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do for you right now. After the show, I'm already in the playoffs. I'm on my final year in my career, right? I'm playing for the Warriors, right? I'm on 2 back-to-back championships. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sign my.
we
I'm gonna go
talking
ahead and make
2K?
that. I'm gonna go ahead and make that decision. I'm gonna sign to New York. I'm gonna get y'all a chip. It may not be real, but I'm gonna get you a chip. I'm gonna establish myself in 2K as the greatest Knick of all time in one season, and then you'll be straight. You might have a little bit more credibility. I'm gonna get that done for you, big dog.
You know, I swear to God, I signed for the Knicks. I signed for the Knicks in my
Yeah,
career.
so
The funny thing, you bring that up before, like real quick. For the first time ever, I lost a my career game. I swear to God, for the first time ever, my team lost. I swear to God.
Yeah, so the last thing I'll say, then we'll move on, is the Knicks play San Antonio tonight. If we don't win by at least 20, and that's being generous, I have no.
Jeremy
hope for this team in
Sochan
terms of
masterclass
playoffs.
incoming.
This is the one. This is the one game. Honestly, if they win by
Hoop,
2
I will
on
make
a
a bet
game
with you
winner,
right
I'd
now.
rather them lose. It would be funnier. This is the one game where I want Tom Thibodeau as my head coach. I want to see all of our starters in with 20 seconds left in the game when they're up by 45, dunking the basketball. There's no reason why they should not
I will
blow
make a
this
bet with
team
you
out
right now.
tonight,
Hoop.
or else they're
Jeremy
a joke.
Sochan drops 20 points on the Knicks. I will tell you. You heard it first. In a win.
In a
heard
win?
him.
Jeremy Sochan drops 20 points in a San Antonio Spurs win against the Knicks. I feel it in my heart. In
How
my
much
heart.
money? How much
No
money?
money. I'll say we're not gonna endorse betting here.
Yeah.
We'll agree on the terms later.
We'll agree on the terms later, for sure. I'll take the
I'm
bet.
just gonna rub it in your face, if
That
I'm right.
is-
And
why
you
am I
can't rub
doing
anything
this?
in my face because it's the
a 20 piece from Socan in a win means
And,
that the
and I'm,
Knicks
yeah,
are
you know who's writing the
scripted.
script? Me.
Damn.
I can't believe we're talking. All right, you guys talk
Oh
about
my
Luka for a second.
God.
I'm gonna time
Okay.
out.
So, Luka Doncic, ladies and gentlemen, as you already know, dropped 60, 21 rebounds, and 10 assists on the New York Knicks. So far this season, he's averaging 34 points per game on about 8 rebounds a game, 9 assists a game, 2 steals. Shout out to the 2 steals. On 50% shooting from the field, 35% shooting from three, and 74% shooting from the free throw line. So Luka Doncic has been top 3 in MVP consideration rankings and predictions for about every single uh, website you can find. Basketball Reference, Basketball Forever, anything with basketball, you can see him top 3. He's been there pretty much all season. His team, let me look it up right here. His team is currently sitting at the 7th seed in the Western Conference and is on a 4-game winning streak. And as you can see, so far this season, that game against New York, it was everything that I needed to know about just how much of an MVP level player that man is in terms of every single point that man scores, the Mavericks need. I want to go back for a second before I bring up this question. I want to go back a few days to the Dallas Maverick Houston Rockets game. Uh, you guys should know what I'm talking about. It happened last Friday. The Mavericks win by 6 points, 112 to 106. I'm gonna read y'all the stat line for the Mavericks. Luka Doncic had 50 points, 8 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals on 17 of 30 from the field, 6 of 12 from three, and 10 of 12 from the line. The next highest scorer on the team had 11 points. It was Spencer Dinwiddie and Bertans, my big boy Birdie, off the bench. But Tim Hardaway Jr. he had 7. Reggie Bullock had 3. Christian Wood had 8. Dwight Powell 3. Frank Ntilikina, or however you say his name, 9. Theo Pinson 6. Like, bro, no one scored over 15 points in this game besides Luka and other members of the Houston Rockets. So that just goes to show you how valuable this man is to his team, and especially when we're talking about winning wise. So where do you think Luka's going to end up, both of you, at the end of the season? Is this one of those cases of like Jokic where it's like you can't deny his impact, you can't deny his value, and you can't deny him the MVP award no matter the record?
No, the difference between Jokic and Luka is Jokic is always the top 4 seed. Jokic is the top 1 seed right now. I know there's a big stigma around Luka that he can't play with players. He's a very he's a shot chucker. He doesn't look for the right play, especially in clutch moments. While I do agree to an extent, I've also seen the Mavericks, other than Luka, play some terrible basketball, so I understand why. But they're not winning games. They are not in playoff contention, if I'm correct. They might, after that next one, they might be up now. I remember last time I checked the standings, they were like playing. If somebody can double check that, I'll check in a sec.
The Mavs,
Yeah,
they're the 7th seed right
so
now.
they're playing.
4-game win streak.
So they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all because of Luka. The thing is, it's not just like Luka is going off and he's a 7th seed and nobody else is really making noise. There is about 6 guys I can name you right now that would be an MVP in any other year but this year, because of how great they're playing. An MVP candidate that nobody talks about was Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid. Like, we're not even mentioning those guys. I know we always bring up Tatum, Giannis, and Jokic.
Thank you.
You haven't even mentioned Embiid or Durant yet, and they have been going off. Durant has given every reason to be an MVP in any other season but now. 10-game win streak, 2nd seed in the East after starting 1-5, dropping buckets on buckets. The main reason for that, and they're playing great basketball. Giannis, of course, is just Giannis. There's no reason to explain that. Jokic, if I need to explain Jokic to you, you have never watched a basketball game in your life. Tatum, I know the Celtics were a little iffy for a bit. They got back on track, though. They're starting to play good basketball again. And Luka's playing out of his mind. But the thing that all of those guys have over Luka is seeding and winning. And unfortunately, since they're playing at that level and winning, and Luka's playing at a slightly higher level but losing, you can't give the MVP to Luka right now.
I agree. I'm with you on this. Hoop, go ahead, give me something. Let me know something.
Yeah, if I had to give the award to someone right now, it's Jokic. And looking back, it's funny because you'd see he wins 3 MVPs in a row. You'd think, oh, he was dominating during this stretch of time. But if we were to ask who's the best player during this stretch of time, you'd probably say it was Giannis. But for the MVP award, Jokic is just built for it. He's running that entire offense. He's on ridiculous efficiencies. There's chance he could be like a 24-point triple-double for the next 3 seasons. So not only looking at this award, like if he keeps this up, I really think he should get strong consideration for the award. I hate the voter fatigue thing. But we need to start looking at him like he's one of the greatest centers ever. I mean, what?
I said this to you guys, and I'm going to say it on this podcast. I genuinely believe if Jokic can keep this level of play up for another 7 seasons, he's the greatest center of all time. I think if his prime lasts another 5 to 7 years, he is the greatest center of all time, the most efficient player of all time, as a 7-foot man whose playmaking ability is that of an elite point guard. And he's a center? And he's taking the Nuggets, the Denver Nuggets, to the 1 seed?
Look how many bad financial decisions the Nuggets have made, and it's all being erased because of some
MPJ. For all the viewers out there who think nothing is possible, or you think you can't do something, MPJ is on a supermax contract. Let's just remember that, okay? Anything is possible. And Jokic is taking this. Imagine, think about. Listen, no hate to MPJ. In retrospect, Denver is a small market team. MPJ has the potential to be a great player. I'm not hating on him, but he doesn't play. My issue isn't MPJ. It's the fact that there's a supermax contract player who's not really playing, and that's taking up cap space. This is the point I'm trying to make here, okay? Imagine if Jokic had a player worth that money playing on his team with him. Imagine. People are not, and Jamal Murray's coming off an injury. Again, Murray and MPJ, I don't want people to think I'm hating on them. I love those two players. I think they're great, phenomenal basketball players. They're not playing, though. There is about $50 million on that Nuggets roster that's not being utilized properly. Imagine if he had a guy that was $50 million, or two $25 million players, or one $35 million and another $15 million. Anything. Create anything you want with that money. It's better than what's happening right now. And they're still the 1 seed. That's why I don't really like the legacy argument where it's like, oh, this guy got a ring. Bro, if you really dig deep into a lot of these players' career, hence Jokic doesn't get the respect he deserves because of his playoff success. And from just like a stare at it, okay, I get that. But when you really dig deep into it, it's not even that the Nuggets have the wrong pieces around him. It's that they have pieces that aren't playing around him.
I think.
And he's been hooping in those
there's only so
series
much a man can do. The only person I've ever seen take a team like that to the finals consistently is LeBron James. Are you going to say just because Jokic doesn't have that LeBron James gene in him that we're not going to consider him an all-time great? Because LeBron James is top 2, arguably top 1. So to compare him to LeBron James is very unfair. I don't like that argument. I don't like that argument that he doesn't have playoff success. LeBron James, to this era, to these kids coming up watching the NBA, because of course they're not like analytical nerds or anything, right? They're just watching the game for fun. LeBron is making these kids think, or made this generation think that this is normal. What he did is normal. LeBron James is not normal. There's a reason why we consider him the GOAT. So don't use that same criteria to a guy like Jokic.
I agree. I completely agree with that entire statement right there. Where we as an NBA fan base, community, however you want to call it, the biggest issue that we have is the comparisons. And the comparisons sometimes just go a little bit over the line. Like there's an imaginary line, and sometimes we cross them, and then we end up putting players in this box that they can't really get out of, and they didn't even put themselves in a box to begin with. Nikola Jokic, we know for a fact, if he had a team around him, or his second and third options were available to him, that he could have made a little bit more noise. His team could have made a little bit more noise in the playoffs. He made enough noise by himself. Going into that Warriors series last year, everybody and their mama knew the Nuggets might be able to squeeze out one game. But the reason that they're squeezing out this game is because of Nikola Jokic. I'm pretty sure he averaged over 30 that series. Insane numbers. It's coming from a center that's that damn slow. You got to be kidding me right now. This man's impact is phenomenal. Phenomenal. The thing that I have an issue with is I really don't know what to really like how to really look at the MVP award anymore, because we have instances where a guy like Jokic wins back-to-back MVPs 2 years in a row with the same narrative both years. It's not his fault that MPJ and Jamal Murray weren't there. That's just what he's given. So he's going out there, and you're not expecting him to win it all, but you're kind of expecting him to do or have to do a little bit more. He kind of exceeded a lot of people's expectations, if you ask me, with that Nuggets team last year. All for them to get back this season, and the Nuggets are literally tied for the top of the Western Conference, right? With a team like the Pelicans, who are trying to get as much playoff experience as they could possibly muster up, with Zion playing out of his freaking mind. He just dropped his career high last night. There's so much individual talent in the league that it's really hard for me to look at one guy and not look at another guy and say, well, this guy's doing great. Like Luka, for example, averaging 34 points a game, shooting 50%, efficient as hell. But his team's a 7 seed. Whereas you got another guy who's also putting up a historical season for an individual at his position, Nikola Jokic, and they are 6 games ahead of Luka. So are we supposed to shun Nikola Jokic because he won back-to-back, because of voter fatigue? I think Jokic is for the first time knocking that notion completely out of the water. And I think that the only way that he's going to get the MVP consideration enough to get him even into the top 2 is if the Nuggets are the 1 seed. I don't even think that it's a Nugget, and it's mainly because we've looked at the. Go ahead.
I was going to say the same thing, because you look at the East, and Joel Embiid,
Right.
without James Harden, has propelled the Sixers team to a very respectable
Right.
spot, good enough for MVP. So I think the way that Jokic would have to clear Embiid in terms of voting is if he's the
Right.
1 seed and Embiid is like the 5. Because Embiid has a very, very strong case. There's a lot of guys. I think Jason Tatum, honestly, he seemed to have the strongest. I feel like maybe it's just the rise of these other guys, but his case is becoming weaker and weaker because the
Yeah,
Celtics,
that's
we
all-
all know,
that's all it is.
I would like Tatum
run,
is not number 1 for me.
such
no.
a good
I think he might be
team.
3 or 4. 100%. I would put
His
Jokic,
case is getting
I would give
dimmer.
the award right now
Yeah.
to Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis over him, and there's a debate that Durant deserves it over him right now.
I'm putting Durant in that debate because for me, when I'm looking at this Nets team, I said it in my last TikTok video, the Nets were looked at for the longest time, probably half a year, in the same exact light as the Los Angeles Lakers, as 2 teams that tried to do everything in their power to win now, and it looked like they had failed before they even got to jump off the porch. With the Nets having way more issues, I think, as an organization than the Lakers did. The Lakers' issues was just the signees that they brought in and the fits not working and on-court problems. The Nets had not only on-court issues with the lack of defense, but off-the-court issues with Kyrie Irving, even Kevin Durant, telling them that he wants the coach and the GM fight. All of these things, literally telling the media that the other people that are in the starting lineup aren't enough, and you're expecting me to do blah 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 blah. Since then though, when I look at the Brooklyn Nets this season without Kyrie Irving, for example, when Kyrie was suspended, they did pretty well in that stretch. They're 7-3 on the season without Kyrie Irving. That's something that's huge to me at this particular juncture of the season. So much so that Kyrie Irving was able to just hop back in and chip in those 22 plus points per night, while KD's still out here dropping 30 every night and doing his thing. And I think that Kevin Durant, along the way in this 10-game win streak, has become so much more of an underrated leader at this point. I can't believe I'm saying that. I cannot believe I am saying Kevin Durant and leader in the same sentence, but damn it, I'm saying it. Kevin Durant, I kid you not, I think personally it came from that speech to the media, and the other guys were like, you know what, maybe we should help him out a little bit. Maybe we should find our own roles on this team. KD's got guys like Royce O'Neal looking like what Bruce Brown was looking like last year. It's incredible to me. Claxton's looking like he's way more comfortable in a role. Ben Simmons looks like they're telling him, hey, you can go out here and play defense. You can go out here and facilitate. The fans might be telling you to shoot, but hey, look, you want to shoot 4 shots tonight? You got it, brother. Just give me everything you got on the defensive end. We'll let KD and Kyrie and Seth Curry handle the shooting and all that. And another thing too, Coach of the Year, Coach Jacques. My man
I was
is
about to
slowly
say-
building a case that could be a runaway, because I don't think you could really put another guy over except maybe Missoula for the Celtics. That's the only guy I can really see the media being like, okay, yeah, we're gonna have these guys go neck and neck. But for me personally, I would put Jock up there because Brody came in, and if this team didn't win immediately with him, then everybody would have been looking kind of foolish when we were pointing Steve Nash and saying, hey, you're a terrible coach. We would have been looking at Jacques was coming into a situation where I don't think a lot of coaches would have wanted to deal with this. But 10 straight games, KD's averaging 30, KD's top 6 in scoring. I just think that his stock is rising completely, and I think that eventually, if the Nets can get to a place and just be kind of stagnant on like we figured out our identity as a team, especially in this Eastern Conference, how we're going to approach look at their defensive rating. They're top 10 now. It's insane. So I just think that the Nets just have so many opportunities to establish themselves to the point where us as the fans, the media, is going to look at guys like KD and be like, hey man, we're gonna have to bring you into some consideration, and even over guys like Luka, because with Luka, it's like if Luka was going on this stretch, if Luka had won 10 straight games, I'd be sitting here preaching that he should be the MVP right now. But I mean, the Mavericks, as far as I can see, are going to continue to be inconsistent this season. Luka's going to continue to be the same player that he's been for the past 5 years, a bucket getter. And I'm sorry, but team success is everything. We can't just completely look at these other guys and be like, yeah, you're having a great year, but we really want Luka to win. Like, come on. Like, how can you not see it? And I would, if I'm Jokic or Embiid or Durant or Tatum, I'm gonna be like, well, damn, all this hard work y'all ain't appreciating because I'm not taking step back jumpers with 3 seconds left at the logo. Y'all don't like me? Like what? Like I don't know. I just can't get behind that. But I'm saying like Durant's MVP case, I am all for it. If there could like 10 straight wins ain't no joke to me, especially with where they came from. Like, oh my God, this is incredible. But
And if Durant were to win this MVP, I think we talk about like the most valuable player. This is the most valuable MVP probably ever because the race is so ridiculous. Like, this is the best season of the NBA I think there's been. And you're supposed to have progression as you go into new years, but this is like a whole nother level.
If the play keeps up and we get to the end of the season and any of the guys that we just mentioned won MVP, it becomes that type of toss-up. Because in recent years, I remember back when like in 2018 when Harden won, like it was like, oh, finally he's got it. And then Giannis wins back to back. It's like, okay, yeah, I can't. People were making an argument in 2018 for Braun, right? I feel like if the play keeps up from these guys and they keep on having, this might be one of the most, if not the most historical season ever from a talent standpoint, to the point where whoever wins MVP, it won't be a lot of backlash from fans because you really won't be able to refute it for a lot of these guys. Like a lot of these guys have legit cases that it's hard to refute. And I kind of like that aspect of the league. Like to the point we can get down to the end of the season and we won't even be mad if Joel wins over Jokic or vice versa, or KD wins it, or it's just that's how talented the league is right now. It's incredible. It's really crazy.
Yeah, if it stays like this, it won't be media bias. It would just be preference, which is what anyone would be doing when they're voting, which is nice. So we're going to talk about, you mentioned MVP Harden. I'm going to bring up previous MVPs in recent years. You tell me if they were having that season in today's NBA, where would they rank in the MVP race? Starting off with last year's Jokic.
I think this year's Jokic is better. And I think this year's Embiid is better than last year's Jokic. I think Jokic would still be top 5, but he wouldn't be 1.
So let me before I answer, I just want to make sure I'm right. We're putting this Jokic last year's
Jokic into today's NBA.
Yeah, I agree with saying this year's Jokic. I didn't think Jokic could get better, and this is one of those cases where it's like the numbers like people would look at his points per game, right, and be like, oh well, it's not. I'm not even. It's bigger than that. And Jokic is one of those players where it's like, Jokic is like you look at everything that he's doing. You have to physically sit back and watch these games. He's got his help back, and with this help back, he is still looking like maybe the best center in basketball all around. And his team is tied for the 1 seed. Yeah, I agree with Husseini on this one. Like this is a better Jokic. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know if he's top 3. I mean, it's a stretch to say that these guys would continue their reign over the league for the entire season. But if Durant is shooting 70% from mid-range until March, I'm taking KD over Jokic, which is nuts. But he's done it this far. I mean, it's possible. So next up, MVP Russ, Saini.
You're gonna think I'm trolling when I say this, but he still averages 30-point triple-double. One.
He's not one. I'm not putting.
Well,
him
you
over
didn't say what
Jokic
seed
on
Russell
team.
Westbrook would be. You just said the player.
If
If it's Russell Westbrook with the 45 and 37 Oklahoma City Thunder of that season, then he's not. Then he's not one. He's
Yes,
top
that's
three.
what I. That's
He
what
is
I
top
implied.
three. He is top three.
It's the
He's top
player.
three.
It's the player and the record.
32
What
points,
separates
10
him from
rebounds,
Luka?
and 10 assists.
And you got to think, MVP Russ was shooting it
Huh?
pretty well. MVP Russ compared to Russ now, like MVP Russ was knocking
And also
down the
MVP
mid-ranges
Russ
and
was
knocking
the
down
most
them
efficient
threes.
player in the clutch, led the league in clutch points,
Right.
led the league. Like there was a lot of external factors that people you're not bringing up right. You're just bringing up the stats.
Right.
MVP Russ was him, bro. MVP Russ was him.
MVP Russ was a moment.
The
in
most
time
clutch
that I
player,
wish
the
we
most
could
clutch
get
player
back.
that season. He had the most clutch points, best clutch efficiency, most.
MVP Russ was
him.
literally on a tear.
He's him.
Like that season, like it was like every game you had to tune in, either to see if he was gonna get a triple double, to see if he was gonna get a 20 and 20 game, or to see if he was gonna get a game winner along with the two of them. So I would say that if you're taking all of that hype and all of what he was doing that season, and the games that man was having, like it was him against the world and half of Steven Adams. Like it was I don't know, it was incredible. I would say. I'll put him number.
I'll put
him number
I'll
two.
put him number
I'll
two.
put him number two.
There's an argument. There's an argument
The
for
only
one.
argument you have.
There's an argument for
the only
one.
argument that you would have for anybody over him is record. But with what Russ was given that season and what he was able to do, yeah.
Here's a
Russ
fun
kept them
fact. In the playoffs, he averaged a 37-point triple-double, and it wasn't like 10 and 10. I think it was like 11 and something. Like it was like.
Yeah.
And the second best player was Victor Oladipo, averaging 10 points.
He's
That's
two
just
for
the
me.
perspective
He's
of what
two.
help Westbrook had that season. But let's move on.
Our next player, MVP Harden.
Harden was he was a big free
Harden
throw
was-
merchant. I know people like to compare him and Luka a lot, but I think Luka's better because he actually puts the ball in the basket during a play, not during a session at the free throw line.
Oh, that is
No,
nasty.
Harden's him.
That
Harden's
is
him.
nasty.
Harden's him, but I would take Luka over him.
What?
That's my point.
See,
Your point saying.
No.
that James Harden only got his
Harden
points
could
from free
still
throw
put the
line
ball
is nasty. That's
100%.
what I'm
Prime
saying.
Harden was him, but I think Luka. Like people like to compare him and Luka, which is 100%. I see it, but I think Luka is better than what Prime Harden was.
here's how
I think
look at it.
Luka
My
this
biggest-
season is better than what Prime Harden was. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. Luka is been fun, bro. Shooting 70% on 31 shots to get 60 points is ridiculous while getting a triple double. The difference with Harden,
It's against the Knicks.
here's the thing.
Oh my God.
Harden, I think MVP Harden would be top 5 guaranteed. Argument for top 3.
Okay.
But I
so
don't know
here's-
if I put him over Jokic or Giannis or Luka or Embiid. That's my issue. There's an argument, but I don't know. I think I put him over
I think
Durant.
I put him over
Durant.
Embiid.
I don't know if I put him over Embiid.
I think I put him over Embiid because we talked about this the last time we talked about Harden. Embiid does the same thing that James Harden does, but he's the only big in the league that legitimately foul hunts. And it's annoying, but he's so damn efficient at the free throw line.
Sure.
I can't blame the guy.
Sure,
I can't blame
Yeah,
him.
you know what? I would put MVP Harden over Embiid. You're right. But
So yeah,
I'm taking Jokic for sure. I'm taking
Okay.
Giannis. I'm taking Giannis, and I'm taking Luka over him.
I'm taking so to Saini's Luka point. I want to attest to that because as much as Prime James Harden was fun for me to watch, I remember always having the issue of Prime James Harden is going. This is how I sum up Prime James Harden. Is he one of the greatest scorers of all time?
Yes.
Yes. Is he one of the greatest scorers of our generation? Yes. However, in the heat of battle, if there is a shot to be taken, and you tell me that I have today's Luka, 2022-23 Luka, and Prime Harden, 2018-19 Harden. If the game is on the line, I'm taking Luka specifically for this reason. If James Harden has the ball, James Harden is going to look for the foul call before he looks for the damn basket. Luka's looking at what did we just talk about? We just finished talking about how Luka has bad shot selection. The bad shot selection is just from the contention itself. Luka's hit.
I don't like
half of
that
them
point.
things
I'd rather
when they're
get
contested.
free throws than that bad shot.
No. I've seen. There was a game. Go back and watch game 1 or 2 of 2017 or 2018. Rockets versus Warriors. I think it was game 2. James Harden loses that game. The Rockets had worked so hard to stay in that damn game. They get down to the wire. The reason the Rockets lost the game was because James Harden shot a shot, and you can see in the instant replay, he's looking at his defender and trying to get the foul call without looking at the rim in a pivotal game 2 playoff game. I'm sorry, but when they lost the game, I said that is completely on James Harden. Why? Because he is more focused on getting to the free throw line, which he had done all season long. You get to the playoffs.
That's not his
he
fault.
has a what? What?
No, it's not.
The shot
If
selection of
it
his.
if it works, you
If
just
it-
proved
it
this
did
point.
fucking
No,
work!
but you just proved why he did it. He did it the whole season. He's known to be able to draw fouls. In a situation like that, game 2, that means the Warriors were playing at home, correct?
Right.
He's
right.
going to do what he's been trying to do all game, draw a foul. The Warriors were just smart enough to not foul him or not bite on that move that Harden does. But that's Harden's
Right.
game, and it works all the time.
When we look at Luka Doncic, though, if Luka's in that situation, he's not going to pump fake and try to fall into the guy. He's looking for the shot. I'm going to give him credit more. No. I'm
For a
just saying.
half-court
I'm
heave.
going to give.
He's looking
I'm
for a
gonna
step
give
back,
Luka-
half-court
Step
heave.
back 3.
I'm gonna give Luka the
both have-
benefit of the
I
doubt
don't know.
over Harden for actually trying to attempt the game-winning shot. The reason that the Rockets the reason that it wasn't even a foul call was because of how blatantly obvious it was that James Harden wasn't even looking to shoot the basketball.
There's more of a
That's
chance.
my thing.
There's more of a chance, Luka.
So it's more James Harden. I'm just gonna say this. It's more James Harden's fault for the Rockets losing that game, for him not, I don't know, passing up the shot, looking for a better, higher quality shot. They both had terrible shot selection. Like, that's a thing, right? The problem that I have is if it was Luka taking the shot and he just missed the shot. The same argument I can have for Kobe Bryant. Kobe's going to take the shot. If he misses it, he can live with it. But he's going to at least look to attempt to make the shot. If he gets hit, that's going to happen after the shot's released. It's going to just be an and one. James Harden is looking for the and one before he's looking at the rim itself. That was my problem.
There is more
that
of
was
a
why
chance.
James Harden was.
There's more of a chance
go
that
ahead.
Harden gets a foul called on him than Luka has of hitting a step back, half court heave, whatever he does.
Is that the case in today's game right now?
Yes.
Are you? So
There is
so
more of a
when
chance
the
that
rule-
Harden
when the rule
can,
changed,
with Harden's skill, there is more of a chance that Harden
Uh-uh.
can draw a foul than Luka can make a step back
Okay.
heave.
Z, you just told me how, or was it Saney? One of you said that Harden is getting all
It was
his
me.
points
Saney
at the
said
free throw
that.
line. I believe it was Z.
That's
Yeah.
why. That's
Why
why.
would you-
That's why
what?
I was gonna
I
contradict
think.
myself.
I take Luka over Prime Harden. I don't like
I'm
that
siding
point
with
you
Saney
make
on this
though
one.
on why you would take, because you have to remember they don't get the you can't blame that game on Harden. They don't get to that position without Harden's foul baiting.
And so this is the story of the Houston Rockets' failed playoff successes. It always fell back on James Harden for specifically fourth quarter situations and situational awareness. Case in point, 2018, when they went up 15 at the half. And then they missed 27 straight free throws in the fourth quarter. James Harden went, I think.
It was threes.
Oh, you're right. My bad. Threes. 27 threes. In the fourth quarter, James Harden made a lot of questionable decisions, took a lot of questionable shots. The shot selection that he was the reason that they were questionable shots, go back and watch the game. He's looking for the foul. That comes back to bite you in the ass when it's postseason time and everybody in the arena is looking at you knowing what your tactic is. That's the reason why the rule change affected players like James Harden more than it affected players like Luka Doncic and Steph Curry, because they were able to adapt to the fact that, oh, the referee is not going to look at me when I'm pump faking and know what I'm going to do. And if he does, I'm going to find another way to at least get the ball off or not look like I'm deliberately looking to get a foul call. That's my only issue with Harden. You just said it. He was a free throw merchant. He was. That is, you can look at the statistics to prove
That's still
that.
putting the ball in the basket.
But when and then it only works as how long did that work for? It worked until we got to the playoffs, and then when you get to the fourth
It
quarter,
works
tell me this.
to the
Tell me
rules
this.
of the
Y'all
game.
watched them Rockets playoff series. I know you did. When James Harden was in the fourth
the
quarter,
rules don't change in
The
the
rules
fourth
of the
quarter.
game are the rules of the game.
You're right. The rules don't change, but at the same time, you being the basketball savvy guy, you being the number one option on your team, you're dictating that game. Especially James Harden being the point
But
guard,
that's how he dictates
distributing
games.
it on top of that. And it failed. It failed.
Sure.
Luka's game, we've seen it in the playoffs. Bro's averaging 35 points a game. And the reason that he's losing games is because he can't give any more than he's given. He's the attention on the defensive side of the ball because they're trying to wear and tire him out.
You can't say the same thing about Harden.
I'm talking about his situational awareness in the postseason and why that since it's been bad, he's labeled as a playoff choker, and it's on Harden.
Could we say it's bad because he? Could we say it's bad because he does not have anyone else on his team, from a general standpoint, that could create their own shot,
For
and all the
James
defensive
Harden?
attention's on him?
He's right. The one season he had a teammate, they were going to go to the finals, and that teammate got injured. 2018.
And then the next season,
2018, that failure you called on James Harden was because that team was built around Chris Paul and James Harden, and half of that.
So what happened the next year in
Chris
2019?
Paul left, and Westbrook got COVID.
No.
Chris Paul left.
2019, they go up 3-2 on the Warriors. I know it's hard to forget, but I don't. 3-2 on the Warriors. The Warriors.
Oh, 2019,
yes,
right? 2020.
Steph beat them in one half. They're up. Steph, and they don't have Kevin
2019 was
Durant.
the year Chris Paul got injured. I got the years wrong. You're right. I mixed up the years.
I'm just saying that in 2019 they have that second option, and it still doesn't work. I remember after they lost the game, ESPN had posted a video on YouTube saying, how many excuses can we make now for the Rockets? They had every excuse in the book covered. When KD got hurt, it was, oh, what can the Warriors be without Kevin Durant? And mind you, that 2019 Warrior team was roster was depleted compared to the last 2 years. And what happened? Once again,
here's the thing,
Rockets
though. Game 7, Harden had 35 and a great stat line. And Game 6, he had 31. It wasn't him choking. It was the Rockets. Chris Paul, 38 minutes, 11 points in that Game 6. Clint Capella has 6 points. Like, Iman Shumpert and PJ Tucker are your second best scoring options that game. That's not on Harden. That point isn't on Harden.
Who was the other scoring option for the Warriors other than Steph? Clay? And then after that, it was 2 on what? 3?
Klay Thompson had more than Steph Curry. Curry had 25. Durant had 22. Draymond Green had a triple-double, basically 8 points, 11 assists, 12 rebounds, and Klay Thompson had 27.
I'm talking about 2019.
That's 2019.
Game 6.
I'm looking at 2019 Game 6. That's literally the stat line I'm on right now. 2019 Game 6. Draymond Green had a damn near triple-double.
You said Kevin Durant.
Yeah, 2019 he was still there.
2019?
2019 he was still there. He left in 2019
Semifinals?
offseason. Yeah, offseason 2019.
Semifinals?
Yes, 2019.
Kevin Durant was not there for the Kevin Durant wasn't there for the
2019
football
offseason he left to the Nets. He was still there in the playoffs. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the Houston. How are we on two different wavelengths?
We're talking about the same game. 2019 playoffs, Durant was still on the Warriors. He left in 2019.
Durant got hurt in that series.
No, he didn't. He played. He got hurt in the Portland series. He played. He played this game. He played 32 minutes. I'm looking at the stat line. There's no arguing here. I'm looking at the stat line. 32 minutes.
Let me just look up what I'm trying to find here. I might be wrong on the date. I don't know. But
it's the Rockets Game 6. I'm literally looking at it right now. Durant played 32 minutes. Or it was Game 5, and they won in Game 6. They won in 6 games. It wasn't 7 games.
So, Saney,
and then Game 6. I'm trying to find it. I think we're both very confused right now on what we're both talking about.
I think we are too.
I do not think we're on the same page. The 2019 Durant's there for that series. He was there for that series.
He missed the final game. That's the point that I made. That's the point that's true. He missed the final game. Kevin Durant.
Curry had 33. Thompson had 37
in one half.
or 27.
Durant's not there.
The whole team, yeah, but the whole Warriors team cooked up.
That's not the point that I was trying to make. The point that I'm trying to make is that the Rockets.
Yeah, but your point was the Harden. Your point was the Harden choked. Harden didn't choke. It was the Rockets that choked. Harden played good.
So check the fourth quarter numbers of that game while I look them up right now to make sure that I'm correct, because we are very confused. But I know, but the point that I am trying to make is the Rockets had an opportunity with a Kevin Durant gone, with just a Steph Curry team, mind you, Steph having 0 points in the first half.
Saying just Steph Curry is nuts.
The reason I'm saying just Steph Curry is because he had 0 points in the first half, Hoop, and 33 in the second. They were up in this game just like they were the previous year. Up and lost again. The difference was the previous year they had Kevin Durant. The next year there's no Kevin Durant. And what are the media saying? Oh, there's no Kevin Durant, so the Rockets should definitely get this one.
Bro,
it's all their defensive potential.
Harden shot 44% from the field
and
and 40% from 3. That's not a terrible game.
Oh my. Okay. Once again.
Game 6.
Fourth quarter numbers.
Game
Fourth
6.
quarter numbers. Fourth quarter numbers. Fourth quarter numbers. I can't stress this enough. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. What I'm saying is James Harden is a playoff choker. Now we're trying to act like he's not. He is. The fourth quarter was the point that I made at the beginning of this was fourth quarter Harden in the postseason. Bro has a consistency of this, and it showed in back-to-back years. That's all I'm saying.
He averaged. I'm getting the averages of his fourth quarter numbers in the Warriors game, but the averages for his fourth quarter numbers are great. 12 points on 62.5% from the field. I'm going to get that specific game, but in the fourth quarter he turned up.
We are going to.
But his fourth quarter stats were great in that. That's like the best quarter he has that whole that series.
I would love to have a Harden playoff choker debate.
It is.
I also think that narrative is a little misleading.
Okay.
Okay. But lastly,
Bro had
before
9 points in the last playoff game last year.
Where would
That's really wild.
Where would MVP Kevin Durant
exactly where he is now
MVP race?
Yeah. Well, he's what, like sixth? You don't think it'll be top 5?
He's top 5 for me.
Oh, he's top 5 for me. Yeah.
Who do you think wins the MVP? Current KD or 2014?
Current
Yeah,
wins more.
And Current's wins kind of, I think that his team that he's on right now compared to back then, I think the expectations are very different. Like, that Thunder team was very exciting. He had a good
Westbrook
good
was injured that whole season, though.
Yeah, right. I was about to say that. But this I think that this season, given the circumstances of how this team was built, starting with KD just getting there and arriving, I think that all of that is kind of playing a part or will play a part into this narrative going forward if he continues to average 30 and they continue to win a lot of games. So yeah, I would definitely say that this one is just a little bit better than 2014 for me. And he's older.
But what's nuts is I feel like OKC Kevin Durant, if Kevin Durant plays at this level and the Nets, is getting pushed to like the bottom of the 3.
Okay.
I believe so. Of the 3 Kevin Durants, I mean, I'm taking Warriors number 1. And Brooklyn is making a very strong case. If he bounces back in the playoffs this season, he already had a ridiculous series against the Bucks. There's a possibility that the narrative around the Bucks goes way south if they meet Brooklyn and Brooklyn beats them straight up. Because there was a real chance that Brooklyn could have sent them home. And it was his foot on the line that ended it. If a healthy KD and Kyrie with some continuity go in there and beat the Bucks in 6 with healthy Giannis, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, Giannis has a meltdown with the charges. Like, there could be a real narrative shift. And that Brooklyn Kevin Durant is going to skyrocket in terms of legacy value.
I can get behind that. I just want to say,
Saney is staring at something right now. He is now muted, but he's talking very angrily. But
I pulled up the stats, by the way. James Harden had 12 points on 5 for 8 shooting. 2 for 4 from 3. What fourth quarter woe did he have?
I also pulled up the stats. James Harden in the fourth quarter in 90 playoff games has averaged 6 points a game, 1 rebound, 1 assist.
That includes his days in Oklahoma, though. He had so many series in Oklahoma.
32%
That's such a
from the
thing
field.
To use.
32. Now it's not, because 32% from the 3-point line is exactly the point that I tried to make before. James Harden. Go literally watch that 2018 Game 7. In the fourth quarter, it got to a point where, and you know what, honestly, a part of me wants to just give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, because if my teammates were missing 27 straight threes, I might have a little bug in me too. But Harden was throwing up bricks in that fourth quarter on top of the bad 3-point shot. He attributed to that. Them 27 missed threes were James Harden contributed to that 27 missed threes. Like, there's no other way to look at it.
Bro, James Harden in that fourth quarter of that Game 7 shot 5 for 7 and had 10 points. What are you talking about? Harden had woes.
The shot. Oh my God! Just look at the game. Just go back and look at the game.
5 for 7.
Look at where it's.
What are you talking about?
Your
point was the shot selection.
What was his 3-point? Tell me his 3-point shot selection. Tell me what it was. Tell me what his 3-point shot selection.
He went 0 for 2 in the fourth quarter. Whoa!
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. He went 0 for 2 in the fourth. He went 5 for 7. That's fantastic. Fantastic. 0 for 7 in the 0 for.
I'm hearing this. There's two.
No. He went 0 for 2, right? He went 0 for 2.
I feel like you're
just said
determining.
He went 0 for 2.
No, he did.
He went 0 for 2 in that game. There's 27 missed threes that he went along with that. In the fourth quarter of this game, that you were up 15 points at one point, up 15 points at halftime. everything dwindles downhill. So you have the other team that's firing back at you. That the Warriors were struggling to start the game off too. They get back in the game. What's your excuse for missing shots in the fourth quarter, especially a fourth quarter that was a nail biter like that until it went to set? He shot 0 for 2 from 3. The threes that he missed were pivotal threes.
That's
Go back and look at the threes. Go back and look at the threes that he missed and tell me the timestamps on them.
Yo, pinning the 2 threes.
That's ridiculous, bro. He shot 5 for 7, and you're going at him for missing 2 threes.
So let me get this
shot
straight.
100% from the 2-point then. Okay, he shot 100% in the mid-range. Like, what's the issue here?
So I need y'all to do me. Matter of fact, don't even worry about it. After this show, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna clip the game and send you the footage yourself, just so I can see if y'all are feeling me right now, because you're not. Y'all are looking at, oh, he went 5 for 7. If he went 5 for 7, Saney, and then however he went in the other game, why is he labeled as a playoff choker? Why?
No, my issue with this whole thing is that you're trying to pin.
I'm not pushing Harden. I'm not pushing Harden. He's a great.
And I know there's examples. Hold up. There's examples of many legends failing in the postseason, whether it's early on or in the finals, anytime in the playoffs. And I think labeling Harden as a playoff choker, I really do think it comes from a couple of games in his career. And I used to be a victim of the narrative because that's all you hear. Harden's a playoff choker. But I've looked at deep in the stats. I've looked back at other games where Harden has played, and I think there's just other factors that lead to the narrative becoming popular. And I think one game is just really tough for me to say.
It's not even just one game. Your 2 games that you mentioned that Harden choked in the fourth quarter. That was what you specifically said. Is just not the case.
So let's go back to James Harden's last playoff game. Why don't?
But we're talking about 2018. We're talking about prime. The argument is prime Harden and prime Luka.
I'm looking at so many. Okay, right.
We're also talking about a guy with the hamstring injury. He was not 100%.
Let me get this straight. That same guy, that same damn guy that we're talking about with the hamstring injury, goes out there in that pivotal game, like you're suiting up at the end of the day. He had a hamstring injury the year before. 2022 against the Bucks, I'm for you. I'm with that. He did not look like the same James Harden. I'm with y'all on that. However, last year when he returns to Philly, I remember in the pivotal game,
he did not look like James Harden last year.
Oh my god.
The whole season.
So going into that playoff run, we have the previous playoff run to go off of to talk about James Harden's failures in the postseason. We have the one before that in 2020 that we can go back to. There's games in that one where he failed, but ultimately I think that he lost to a better team in the Lakers, so I'm not really holding that against him. And then we already talked about this years against the Warriors, right? The biggest thing that we were talking about was, okay, he's going up against the Warriors. My thing is, if the Warriors are being held as one of the greatest teams ever, not one of, but the greatest team ever assembled, but the only asterisk to this is if James Harden had another guy to help him, they win this game.
The only reason people say that is because it took 27 missed straight threes.
27 missed straight threes for that 1 year, and the year before, Chris Paul injury.
That's the only reason the narrative's a thing. If the Warriors just won, within a normal, it wasn't.
And out of 27 threes,
people wouldn't bring
out of 27 threes missed, if you're shooting 5 for 7, but you're gonna pin Harden for missing 2 of those 27 and say that it's Harden's fault they lost that game because he missed.
I'm talking about in the fourth quarter.
That's the fourth quarter. I'm talking about the fourth quarter stats.
So how many threes did James Harden attempt that game?
I'll do the whole game. It was 2 threes in the fourth quarter, and he shot 5 for 7.
Right, in the fourth quarter.
And the whole game, James Harden shot 41%, and he shot 16% from 3. He had a bad game from 3. You're right. But your point was the fourth quarter. Your whole point was the fourth quarter.
You're already having a bad game from 3. You throw up them threes that you need in the fourth quarter to keep you in the game. He shot 2. So last year, right? Let's go back to last year for a second. Last year, he shot 9 shots in a pivotal winner-go-home game 6. In this game, in this fourth quarter, they've blown a lead. He's already shooting like shit from 3. They get to the fourth quarter. He only can either add to that shot selection, or completely just run it to the ground even more than he already did. He shot 16% from 3 in a pivotal game 7 for his team without Chris Paul. The next year, they go up against the Warriors, a even more depleted roster than they had the previous year. And I get it, the Rockets team was a tad bit different than they were in 2018. I get that. However, The Rockets team was a lot more healthy than this Warriors team was. The Rockets team had a lot more guys coming off the bench than this Warriors team was. The Rockets team was depending on James Harden, once again, and Chris Paul, both of them. I put both of them in this blame. They were dependent on both of them, and both of them couldn't get the job done. This was another, and to your point, Hoop, about other guys choking in the playoffs. There's a reason why Chris Paul also falls under this umbrella, and that series right there is another reason.
They were not more healthy. They only had 3 guys play off the bench, and only Gerald Green played 20 minutes, and Ryan Anderson played 8, and Joe Johnson played 5 minutes. And Ryan Anderson and Joe Johnson were at the tail end of their career. They were not more healthy. They had 6 guys play that game.
So the Warriors' best player got taken out. The Rockets had their best player.
No, but you can't say they were more healthy. They weren't. The Rockets had basically 6 guys playing that game.
They had a better team than the Warriors for sure. Because back then, the Warriors team had don't even get me started on this. The Warriors team from 2017 is a different team than 2018. 2018 is a different team than 2019. There's a reason why in 2017 they won 67 games.
Are you talking about the 2019 game or the 2018 game?
I'm talking about the 2019 game, that Warriors team.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, and once again, I'm trying to get off the segment right now because we are getting a little bit heated, and I'm getting a little hot. But I'm just saying, the 3 years where Kevin Durant was there was 3 different Warriors teams. There was a reason that the 67-win Warriors are from 2017, and there's a reason that the 2018 Warriors did not have the best record in the league. The Rockets did. There's a reason that the 2019 team, at the end of the year, injuries piled the hell up on them.
Yep.
Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson.
Sure. I just want to say one thing. I was looking. I made a mistake because I had both the 2018 and the 2019 stats up. When I told you Harden shot 2 for 13, that wasn't the year they missed 27 threes, and when he went 0 for 2 in that fourth quarter. The game that he went in the fourth quarter, he was 2 for 4 from 3 in the fourth, and he shot 6 for 15 in total from 3. And in the fourth quarter in total, he shot 5 for 8. How did he choke that? That strengthens my point even more on that game. How is it his fault?
6 for 15. What do you mean?
That's like 40%.
Is 6 for
That's
15.
Like 40%. That's Curry's average for his career. What are you talking about?
Sandy.
6 for 15 from 3. 6 for 15 from 3 is 40%. It's 40%. You're gonna tell me shooting 40% from 3 is bad? Are we serious right now?
What game are we talking about?
Game 6 that they choked without Durant. Because you're talking about the one when they didn't have Durant and they choked. That exact game. That's what I'm looking at. And I'm making sure I'm looking at it now. Because you keep bouncing back and forth. You say 27 missed threes, but then you mention the game without Durant. Like, you're bouncing back and forth between 2 games. So I'm getting mixed up with stats. The one game, the game you're talking about, the one with Kevin Durant being out. They lost their best player.
Right.
He shot 6 for 15 from 3, and he shot 2 for 4 in the fourth quarter from 3, and he shot 5 for 8. Where did he choke? You can't blame that game on Harden.
I'm gonna find the clip right now and send it in.
If one play dictates the whole game he choked and the whole fault is on him, they don't get to that position.
No. It's not that. It is, once again, me talking about the fourth quarter, and that's the only thing that's the basis of this argument was James Harden in the fourth quarter, and that's why we have put him in this box as a playoff choker when it comes to playoff success, specifically in the fourth quarter for James Harden. In this game, when you are looking at the game from a minute-by-minute perspective, I'm looking at the final 5 minutes of how close this game was for them. They needed one win, just one. Now, a lot of the times in James Harden's career, this is another thing that I will say, he has been in situations where, like, I don't like to point all the way back to when it was literally just him and, like, Dwight Howard, because I'm not expecting Dwight Howard to get the job done over James Harden in those 2015, 2016 years. I'm saying when the Rockets had a lot of things that they asked for that they needed. They needed a coach. They needed a number 2 option. They had everything that they asked for. So much so to the point that in 2018 they had the best record in the entire league. Then the next year, and in this narrative, it's if Chris Paul was there, that everything is perfectly fine. That's it. That's all they need. The next year, Kevin Durant goes down. And now this is a golden opportunity for them because they can just key in on Steph and the defense is there and blah, 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 blah. They still did not get the job done. I'm sorry. Now, when I looked back at James Harden's numbers in the fourth quarter for a playoff stat, I said it before. 32% from the three-point line is where is mostly. I would say. Let me rephrase. That's mostly where I'm going at with here. I get James Harden is doing his thing from the 2 and all those things. I get that. But when you are looking back at these games, I remember watching them collectively. You would see James Harden take some pivotal shots in the closing minutes, 5 minutes, missing crucial shots that the Rockets need to either keep them up in the game or keep the Warriors from getting away from getting past them in the game.
See, the league average from shooting from 3 is always between 32 to 34%. So you're telling me he is a league average 3-point shooter in the fourth quarter, and that makes him and his fourth quarter woes in those 2 games. I just proved to you that maybe he had a bad possession at the end, sure, but you can't take that possession.
That's the point.
That doesn't label him. You can't call him a playoff choker.
Okay, you know what? Fine. James Harden is not a playoff choker. Let's go. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, so going back to the original question, it was who would you rather take the last shot, James Harden or Luka? If you were to ask me, I would take the quote-unquote
higher
foul
chance of
bait,
it happening,
only because I think there's a higher percentage of that happening based on the rules at the time. But we are going to wrap back to this topic and have a even more heated debate on is James Harden a playoff choker? That's the title of the episode. I cannot wait. I
can't believe I'm actually defending a take that is commonly known. But now apparently James Harden is not a playoff choker, guys. He's not. He's had multiple opportunities to close out a series.
The media is skewing your opinion.
Multiple opportunities to close out a series. It's not.
I've literally given you hard facts.
There's a compilation on YouTube of James Harden choking against the Warriors in the playoffs. That's 10 minutes long. So I don't know what more. We can do the eye test. Let's do the eye test. Let me go find the eye test real quick. Let me go look at the eye test.
I think it's just all bloated because he played the Warriors. There's a lot of eyes on the Warriors.
Is LeBron James a finals choker? Is LeBron James a finals choker?
You know damn well LeBron ain't no finals choker. You know
because
damn
he
well
played the Warriors every year.
Why is he not a finals choker?
Year.
What? No. LeBron's had moments in the finals where he's choked, but it doesn't make him a choke. He had one moment in the finals.
James Harden has had moments in the playoffs where he's choked.
Name me serious. Go find me some serious, Saini. I want you to find me every single series where James Harden that they said he choked and he didn't choke. Find me those series. How many of those series do you have?
The series are against the Warriors, one of the greatest teams ever assembled. He is murdering other teams.
He's had stretches against the Warriors. He's had stretches against the Lakers. He's had stretches against other teams over the years. He's had stretches against the Miami Heat. He's had stretches against I can't.
The Miami Heat when it was 2012 and he was a 6-man?
I'm talking about last year. Damn it.
Where he was hurt.
He was hurt.
He was out there diaming everybody up. And here's another thing about James Harden that pisses me off. When James Harden was hurt in that Milwaukee, let me talk. In that Milwaukee series, James Harden, you're right. He's hurt. He's on a bad hamstring. Then why in that game 7 does he take 17 shots? Why? If you're hurt and your team knows you're hurt, why would you take 17 shots, make 5 of them, and contribute nothing to your team offensively? But he's hurt, right? Am I supposed to excuse that he's hurt? Am I supposed to excuse the 17 shots, the less than 25% shooting? Am I supposed to excuse that because he's hurt? Or if he's hurt, he knows what his limitations are. If I'm a basketball player and my hamstring's hurt, why would I shoot 17 shots?
That team was assembled around
7?
Harden, Kyrie, and Durant, and Kyrie was out for that game, and Durant's not going to take every shot in the game. Durant's not going to take every shot in the game.
Durant was literally the only answer to the game that kept close and got him in overtime.
He was crazy, but Harden was injured, and they needed a second. You can't just have Durant shoot every shot of the whole game.
Durant played every minute of that game.
Yes.
I don't even want to hear that.
That doesn't mean you take every single shot.
That doesn't mean that you take 17 shots. You can take 10 and call it a day. 5 of 10, nobody's sweating you. We know you're hurt. But if you're continuously, mind you, James Harden, you can go back to that. I want you to go back and watch that game. James Harden was shooting shots that he knew for a fact he shouldn't have been shooting. I'm talking about the little step back threes that he had half a leg on. If you are James Harden, if you are an all-time great, a future Hall of Famer, one of the greatest of our generation, blah 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 blah, and on top of that, you have a narrative on your hands of being a playoff choker. Why would I, if I am James Harden? Because would you guys shoot 17 shots a game if you're hurt? Knowing that it's detrimental to your team in this game 7.
Yeah,
I think it's better than Patty Mills taking 17 shots.
No.
And he was injured.
So what about the series last year? What about the series last year? He was the second option on Philly. He shot 9 a game. He shot 9 shots that game.
Hold up. See, he's hurt in both situations. The first one, he takes too many shots. People get upset with him because he's taking too many shots. Next series against Philly, he's still hurt. Now people are getting upset because he's passing too much. Okay. He's not shooting enough. What do you want him to do? You said he was diving up.
That's your answer. Go to Joel Embiid. Go to your guy that's gotten you there so far.
So why are we talking about the 9 shots? Why are we talking about the 9 shots?
I didn't even realize the second option. He said he was the second option for the Brooklyn Nets that series. Fine. Okay, even though Kevin Durant poured in 48 points a game and got them to overtime. They lost by, I believe, 1 point. 1 point. His shots, if he had taken away some of those shots and even given it up to Kevin Durant, given half those shots to Kevin Durant, it could have been a different outcome. They lost the game by 1 point. And if you look back on it and you look at that damn box score and then look at the game, he's shooting 17 shots. Take away 7 of those shots, give them to somebody else that's healthy, then would that not be the option? Or is it just because it's James Harden and just because it's him, he can shoot these shots, whatever. The next series, he probably thought to himself, hey, well, last year I tried this and I was hurt, and maybe I shouldn't shoot those 17 shots a game. You're right. If between those two series, I was more mad at Harden in that series because he was hurt and he decided to still do that. That was what the problem is, and they lost by 1 damn point. You sacrifice a few of those shots and give them up to Kevin Durant, give them up to Patty Mills, give them up to your shooters.
I just think
you might have a better shot. That's all I'm saying.
I just think if you're out there, well, first off, are you saying that no, you're not saying he's
in the
a choker
Philly series? If you're saying that, because I understand that I do remember that he was hurt, so if I'm giving him a pass on that regard. However, if I'm saying, but when I'm looking back at that Brooklyn series, like this is what I'm trying to tie it back to. In that Philly series, they're 2 completely different series, and they're 2 completely different closeout games. James Harden is hurt. In one game, he decides to shoot a lot of shots that he knows he probably isn't going to make, or he hasn't been making all series. He still decides to shoot those shots. Whereas he could drive in, be the free throw merchant that he once was, look for some contact in the paint, get to the free throw line, look to dime guys up, look to throw up alley-oops, look to kick it out to your shooters when you drive in, things like that. Be a decoy. Do what Scottie did in the 98 finals. Be a decoy. There's options. James Harden didn't choose an option that would not have me look at it, that has me looking at him like, yes, you were hurt, but you chose to damn near shoot 20 shots in a pivotal Game 7, knowing that you're not 100%. And you lost by 1 point. You basically, if anything, you lost by Kevin Durant's toe. But that's neither here nor there. That's just my point. James Harden is, and I told y'all this when we were talking about James Harden. He's still a playoff choker, and the only way that he's going to be able to get over that hump is making it back to maybe just making the finals at this point. That's it. Making the finals, and then once he gets there again on his own, because mind you, his only finals appearance so far is with Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant was averaging 30 that series. Am I right, Sandy? 2012 in the finals, something like that. And since then, we've just been waiting patiently.
I don't like that narrative.
Philly.
I don't like that.
Hey.
To say he has to get to a finals on his own to not be labeled as a playoff choker?
Not necessarily on his own, because he's obviously older now. I'm just saying that once he gets there, the level of expectation that we are going to have for a James Harden, hopefully when he gets to the NBA Finals, is the same exact level of expectation that you have for a guy like Chris Paul when he got there. It was like, you finally made it back here, or finally made it here. What are you going to do? For James Harden, it's a matter of, this is your first time here in over 10 years. We've been talking about you for this amount of time, expecting you to do this, expecting you to do that, wanting you to do these things, to rise your stock in the all-time ranking. He gets back to the finals, and if he's hurt again, that's just going to suck. It's just going to be one of those bug things. But if he's there, and he is 95% healthy, I don't know, like eventually, like the excuses are going to run out, and you're just going to have to perform.
I agree. This is definitely a determining year on what his legacy is going to look like and how he's going to be perceived in the minds of NBA fans. But we already figured out that you're going to excuse the past year that he was passing. Just the year that he was shooting, I'm just looking at these numbers. KD took 36 shots. He put up 48 points. There was only 5 players on the team who took shot attempts. Blake Griffin took 12. Joe Harris took 10. Bruce Bowen took 9. These are all guys that don't create their own looks. And James Harden took 17. That's like not even half of Kevin Durant's. So to just give KD more shots, it's just, I don't think it's that simple.
Give it to those other guys that are 100% healthy.
Joe Harris can't create his own shot.
Joe Harris was 3 for 10.
That's why I said if you drive and kick like James Harden has done numerous times in his career.
He doesn't have his quick first step.
He doesn't have his quick first step.
In that game.
I just think that he was dealt a horrible hand, and he did what he could. He was out there risking further injury because the Nets were better off with him on the court.
No shot.
If he was not there, they had
Kevin
no
Durant.
shot.
You have to think defensively for the Bucks standpoint as well.
That's why I said decoy. That's why I said decoy.
But you can't be a decoy if you're not going to take a shot. They're going to understand you're not going to shoot anything.
You can't be.
Once again, he shot 17 shots. Decoy in my mind. Let me just break this down for you for a second. Decoy in my mind, I'm saying, he can go out there in a game where he has half a damn hamstring and shoot 10 shots. 10 shots. Give yourself 10 shots. See where you are with those shots. And then from there, if he's 5 of 10, 6 of 10, 7 for 10 up until that point,
Teams,
the defense is
by the way,
naturally,
teams
going to look at you and say, okay, we can't just keen in on Kevin Durant. Then once they do that, you take that
I just don't like the number only because
that are on the wings, in the corners, that are just locked, loaded, and ready to run. You're right. You guys are 100% right. You guys are 100% right about the fact that the other guys could not create for themselves. You're 100% right on that. But the key to what the Nets were doing that year, from what I saw when James Harden got there, he took the biggest backseat out of the big three by saying, I'm going to focus on the facilitation aspect of the game.
But Kyrie's out.
You're right. Kyrie's out. You're half hurt.
So my only concern is that in the flow of the game, saying I'm going to take 10 shots and like
you're gonna
test
shoot
myself
it,
from there.
especially if you're James
Harden. Half of those shots weren't open though. That's what I'm saying. Half the shots weren't open.
I would need to go back and watch the game. If you have the photographic memory,
I watched the game.
Half
the shots he was taking
was
I
watched it
dribble.
too. I'm gonna
say
this. On average, NBA teams shoot around 90 to like 95 shots a game. Okay, Kyrie Irving out, and that whole team is based around James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. There is nobody else to create shots other than those three. When you're an NBA team who, on average, shoots 90 to 95 shots per game, and Kevin Durant is already shooting however many shots he did shoot. I know he's only shooting at most 1/3. So 1/3 of the shots on an NBA team shoots, and your only other options for guys to shoot the ball are Patty Mills, James Harden, Joe Harris, Bruce Brown, was he on the court? At this point, Jared Allen is gone, Karis LeVert is gone, right? Like that. What do you want? Like, obviously he has to shoot 17 shots and he's injured, but guess what? I would rather an injured James Harden try to create a shot than Joe Harris, fully healthy in his prime, try to create a shot. They had to do it. They made the best of what he could.
We gotta.
I agree with you. He did miss a lot of shots that game. But bro, look at the situation. Like, what else is he supposed to do?
I understand the situation. I do. But and once again, my question, and this is another thing that we talk about when guys are hurt, and it's like, oh, well, it's the playoffs. They need to play. Anthony Davis, prime example. Bro gets back on the court, gets hurt.
Would you rather him not play the series? If James Harden just was not in that series, it honestly would have been better for his legacy.
I can see that point. I'm not saying I'm saying I understand that they needed Harden out there on the floor. They needed Harden, and he went out there. Granted, and he had I think 9 assists that game. So for me watching the game and looking at the possessions that they had, a lot of the shots that he took, the Nets didn't need him to take. That's my point. It's like when you're looking at the flow of the game and you're in this neck and neck game 7 and it's a game 7. A lot of the shots that I wouldn't say some. Most of the shots that he took that he missed, it was like, you don't need to take that shot, James. This is a contested step back shot, and you're not the normal 100% healthy James Harden that we saw you as. That's my point. It's the once again, the shot selection is the problem here. If you're a coach and your guy's out there and he's hurt, and you're watching him shoot shots that he would usually shoot if he was healthy, looking at him, his step isn't even there. He looks like it hurts him to physically shoot the basketball. The same way Chris Paul, for example, when he had that shoulder injury against the Lakers. Bro toned down his shot selection because he couldn't shoot. It literally looked like it physically hurt him to shoot. It looked like it physically hurt James Harden when he was jumping in guys were not jumping in, but contesting his shot, and he's bumping freaking hamstrings with guys. Why would you shoot this shot in this game 7 that we don't need you to shoot, James? That's my point. I don't know how that's not being seen here. I get that you're James Harden.
Also, I don't like how you only mention.
You're right. Steve Nash.
I don't like how you only mention his shooting percentages as well. The guy on the terrible hamstring had 9 assists and 9 rebounds and 1 steal and 1 block.
I just shouted out his 9 assists.
Oh, sorry. I was zoned out. I was looking up his full stat line. Like, yeah, he had a bad shooting percentage, but
we could be here for hours.
All right. Thank you for listening. Tune in next episode. Peace.